find the thing that you were born to do. That is honestly the ultimate thing you can do in life, the best thing. What is your assignment that you were born to do? It doesn't have to be glamorous. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to impress your mother or your coworkers or whatever. It has to be you. What lights you up? What that makes you feel fully alive. And the most courageous people are the people that they just refuse to settle for anything other than that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Onion Soup, the show where we pull back the layers of metaphysics and reality to demystify spirituality. And today, I'm excited for our guest. We have Mr. Christian Ray Flores. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Dexter. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I really want to first start off with your backstory because I was reading about how you started life as a refugee.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about that. What happened?
We lived in Chile. I was born in Moscow, Russia. My mom's Russian, my dad's Chilean. And we moved when I was 6 months old or something like that. And we were just planning to live our lives there. And suddenly, as it goes in places like Latin America, there was a military coup and a whole bunch of people got put in concentration camps, killed, tortured. And my father was one of them. And we ended up in a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. My mom and I and my sister in hiding, essentially, because they were sort of looking for people who might be associated with the Soviet Union. And my mom was Russian at the time. And she's actually still Russian. But that's what they were doing at the time. And we ended up being refugees. My dad survived. He was the lucky one of the people that was imprisoned unjustly. A lot of people got killed and tortured, but he was alive. And that was sort of the big win for us. So we ended up in a UN-sponsored refugee camp for a few months before we got asylum, but we basically had to be under the protection of the United Nations to even feel safe at the time. And that sent us traveling all over Europe, Germany, back to Russia, then Africa. So I spent 7 years in Mozambique from 7 to 14. That was my formative years. It was just a very strange way to grow up, I think. Both in a bad way and also in a good way, because you learn a lot of things through some suffering and changes like that.
Wow. So nowadays, you help high-level executives, even people who just started off with small businesses. You help them to achieve their dreams. You help them to push past the change. How did you go from refugee, a life of turmoil, helping people grow themselves?
Because people who want to build something new, they are either fearing turmoil and instability and uncertainty, which comes with the territory of starting something new. It could be a creative project. It could be, hey, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to write a book. I want to start a business. I want to shift my focus from this career or this type of industry to this other type of industry. And these are people that are usually just fueled by dreams and aspirations, and they're have this passion bubbling up, and they go, I just don't want to live aimlessly anymore. I don't want to be a cog in the machine. And the correlation between their struggle on the surface has nothing to do with my life, but has everything to do with knowing how to overcome uncertainty and how to face perceived danger, right? Because obviously their level of danger is less than the level of dangers that I've lived through. But the emotional sort of the self-management, the skills that you develop are actually the same, right? So they're very transferable. And sort of being able to navigate uncertainty, complexity, be able to actually make mistakes without being crushed by them. All of those things are very common and very necessary because most people just don't overcome them. And that's why, the saying goes that most men live a life of quiet desperation, right? And I just don't like that. I don't like quiet desperation. I like to help people flourish and really bring their best out into the world. They were born to do something, and I try to convince them that they have way more potential than they think they do. They're capable of way more than they think they do. And I'm actually right most of the time.
Yeah, I feel like most of us, we don't really know the true potential that we have within ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that's there that's keeping us back.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Let's dive into that perceived danger. How do you help somebody to get past that? Because oftentimes that's a very physiological response.
It really is, yeah. I would say, look, if you have I would say three elements, right? One is you have a daily practice of self-awareness, of metacognition. That's sort of the fancy word to say it, right? It's being able to think about what you feel, think about how your thoughts are, and are they real? Are they perceived? How real they are? All of that. And I think because 90% of what we do every day, it's sort of on autopilot. It's all subconscious stuff. And it was formed way, a long time ago, right? All kinds of nature, nurture, you're the mosaic of experiences, and you sort of think a certain way because you think a certain way. So if you learn how to rise above it and start seeing yourself almost from the outside in, you can tweak the autopilot, right? And what is perceived as danger, as extreme stress, source of stress, actually is way less dangerous and way less risky than you think it is. So I can give you an example just from nature. So when I was a kid, I was 13 years old, I think, maybe 14. And my family and I were traveling up and down the coast of Mozambique in Africa. And my dad and I loved to spearfish and snorkel, right? So that's what we did. And so we were flying this little plane over from the mainland to this island. And in the middle, like miles away from the coast, there's this dark figure. And we asked the pilot, what is this? It's like a big fish. He goes, oh, that's João. João is Portuguese for John, basically. But he gets us lobster and fish for the restaurant, for the hotel. We're like, where's the boat? There's no boat. He just swims there. I'm like, okay, this is an interesting Aquaman situation. So we ended up hooking up with this guy, and he would give us the best spots, and would just spend so much time with him. The guy was amazing. And he told us this tale that stuck with me. And actually, I use this term when I help people think about fear a certain way. So he looks for lobster. Lobster is the most valuable thing that he can get. Lobster congregate under the rocks. So in these crevices under this rocks or between rocks, that's where they hang around. You know who else hangs out there is sharks. They sleep there because sharks have to move to oxygenate their gills. And under those rocks, there's sometimes currents that basically are passively oxygenating they can just sleep there. And so he tells us this little thing, and we go, wow, that's amazing. And he goes, yeah, so sometimes I'm looking for lobster, but there's a shark there sleeping. And we go, so what do you do? And he goes, I just shake them. And we're like, what? And he goes, yeah, I just grab them by the fin, and we shake them, and they swim away. And we're like, that just stuck with me forever. So I call that principle of dealing with a fear, understanding that the perception of the fear is more than the actual danger. I call it shaking the shark, right? And basically the idea is that when you think about writing a book or starting a blog or starting a new business, the fear of what am I thinking? Who do I think I am? People are going to laugh at me. I'm going to fail and go bankrupt and die under a bridge alone. Like all those emotional things, the judgment that you think is going to come your way, all of those things are the same, come from the same place. It's perceived danger over real danger, right? The shark does not bite. Sharks don't attack people, with the exception of very small percentages of situations that they mistake you for a seal or whatever, right? There's all kinds of, but really 99% of the time, sharks want nothing to do with you. So if you want to get to a lobster, to the real good stuff, and you have a shark between you and the lobster, most people will literally swim away and don't get to the lobster. But what if you shake the shark? Maybe you'll get to the lobster. And that's basically the moral of the story.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's actually so true because, the shark attacks are so rare. I think people don't understand how rare it actually is.
Yeah. It's perceived fear. Yeah.
Yeah. It almost.
That's why teaching yourself, and that's one of the things I teach, is how do you get yourself to a place where you understand that there's no danger there, that you should actually shake that shark. And the other piece that helps, so it's self-awareness is one, and the other one is just community and mentorship. So you need someone who can tell you to shake the shark, So you need a Joao in your life, or that's who I am for other people, right? I needed that guy to tell me, dude, it's no big deal. And I was horrified just listening to him. But then because he told me with such confidence, I would probably shake a shark if I see one when I'm swimming with him. Luckily, I didn't see any sharks at the time, but you know how he helped me shift my perspective, and that's what we need. We need people in our lives who help us shift our perspective.
When it comes to needing someone to almost help guide you through to the next level or through the situation, would you say that sometimes people just need to be told that they can do something or be given permission?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's part of it. But I would say there's a lot of great Instagram videos and TikTok videos that tell you that, but that's not enough. Because you might have an emotional high from it, but you don't have the tools to actually act on it. And that's sort of the only limiting factor. Of course, you need inspiration, but you need more. You need, first of all, someone to tell you that, not generically, but specifically. Hey, I know your life. I know your talents. I know your flat size. And I know you can do this, and this is why. That's a big difference from a sort of a general, broad, sort of inspirational quote that you see on Instagram or something. And then also, you need someone to tell you, this is how you stop thinking about yourself in this way and start thinking about yourself that way. Here are the tools. Here are the steps. And you need to report back to me how you're doing. And if you hit a snag, I'll tell you how to overcome it. I mean, that's a whole different level of support, right? Yeah. That's why being part of a community, part of having a mentor or a coach is a massive, massive advantage. It will accelerate your journey. But it's not easy. Even that, it's not easy. But without it, it's much, much harder, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have that open dialogue with people, or be able to have that dialogue, because you want to be able to ask questions and then receive feedback.
Exactly. That's why courses are usually ineffective, because there's no one there to talk to. They just tell you, these are the steps and it's easy and here's my social proof. But you don't have anyone to hold your hand. It's just different.
So what do you say to someone who says that I don't really have time to sit down with the mentor?
I think you're paying the ignorance tax. Have you heard about the ignorance tax?
Let's talk about that.
So let's say you want to learn how to make $1 million and you're making 100,000, right, a year. Every year that you don't learn how to make $1 million, you're paying $900,000 of ignorance tax. And the question is, how long do you want to keep paying that tax? And do you actually not have the money and the time to get mentorship? Or do you just value your time so low that you're willing to pay, 5 years of your life to get there rather than 6 months or a year?
Yeah,
that's a real question,
Look, I actually came across something very similar to that a year or two ago. And what really helped me out was I was sitting down with a guy, a mentor actually, and he said, I want you to take a week, and in that week, document what you did that day. Just write it down, and you'll see how much time you're spending doing nothing.
Seriously, you spend I can spend half an hour scrolling through TikTok. I mean, that is such a depressing way to spend your life, right? And then because it's designed to get you addicted to the cheap dopamine. And then you look at that, you keep doing that, and I fall into that every once in a while, still to this day, because it's just so powerful. And I go, what on earth am I doing? Like, I just wasted half an hour of my life. Or, we escape reality. When things are sort of hard and you're anxious, you can binge on Netflix. That's 3 hours of your time, easy. You could be reading a book, talking to someone, getting something done. You can learn something. I mean, you can contemplate. You can be in nature. You can walk. You can work out. People waste so much time.
Yeah. And I say it's more that you're wasting time doing things that are preventing you from getting to where you really want to go.
Yeah.
Because if you really just want to spend your life doing that, then by all means.
Absolutely. They say that your life is perfectly designed for the results you're getting. So
I love that. But one of the biggest things I really wanted to dive into was You talk about building holistic success. What's the
Right.
difference between success, professional success, and holistic?
Looking for more than just crystals? Discover Chakra Wonders. We offer unique spiritual products like positive affirmation chakra backpacks and zodiac inspired accessories. Elevate your daily routine with our mindful designs. Visit chakrawonders.com and get 10% off your first purchase. Now let's get back to the show.
I think most people fall into that. People that are driven and they're talented and they're ambitious and they have a work ethic. We definitely, I'm one of them, call them high achievers, whatever you want to call them. These are people that fall into that trap over and over again. It's an age-old trap, and almost no one escapes it fully. I think the aspiration is, how can you escape it early enough so you don't make too much of a mess with your life? The core of the problem is that the world around us will reward us for, the work we do, for the things that provide basically quick solutions, right? So I'm a great carpenter. People want to order custom-made furniture from me over and over again because they want custom furniture. Or I'm a great speaker. I'm an engineer, or I'm a songwriter. Because they receive something, they pay for it, so you get praise, you get status, you get money, you get promotions. You do more sales, you get the bonus at the end of the year. There's no mechanism to reward you for the long arch of human development and human flourishing. So there's no immediate response or immediate reward for becoming a better human being, for being more generous, learning how to communicate, learning how to self-regulate emotionally, for dating a girl, marrying a girl, and keeping the girl, for having a kid or two and being a good father or mother. There's really no reward system for that. So what we do is we lean on the thing that we're rewarded, the outside rewards sort of, stimulate. And we underinvest in the things that actually make us happy and successful in the long run. And that's basically the problem. So it was sort of my problem. My first successful professional career was maybe a couple years out of college. I started doing music, although I have a master's degree in economics. I was very creative, and I was living in Eastern Europe at the time. And you know what? I'm going to give it a try. And I just happened to be talented enough, have enough of a sort of work ethic, and the marketplace wanted what I had to offer. And I went from nothing to getting 3 contracts offered to me by record labels. By the end of year 1, I'm on national television. I go from small clubs to bigger venues to sports arenas within 3 years. Wow. And that's my life, right? Now, and it was amazing, by the way. What happens when you get fame and fortune is also the things that you didn't learn, because whatever, your parents tried their best, but they just didn't give you that worldview or that moral framework, which was sort of my case. That becomes amplified when you're famous because you're in the public eye. My parents were divorced. I wanted a family. They didn't know how to build a family. All of my dating relationships were super public. You're in the tabloids everywhere. I started dating this girl. She's a supermodel, whatever. We have a baby. I didn't want to get married at all. I had no idea what I was doing, seriously. No idea, relationally. So I was extremely good in music, very bad in relationships. That's not success. That's holistic success. That's not holistic success. That's just lopsided success. Why? It starts damaging even the thing you want to do well. So first of all, you're brokenhearted because you can't keep a relationship. You're sabotaging every single one of them, which is my story. Second, because you're upset, now you're stressed, now you're depressed, now you're not creative anymore. So the very thing that caused you to rise and be in the 1% of artists and living that dream is now being undermined because you can't write the same way. You can't create the same way. You don't have this peace and a creative flow and mindset because it's been disrupted by this weakness that you have. And that happens to professionals everywhere. You can be an entrepreneur to get through multiple divorces and multiple startups, for example. I was just talking to someone who had a friend who has these yachts literally today, and they came from the same space, and one guy chose more holistic success, so slow down the millions a little bit, but to take care of his family and be a good husband and a good parent. and the other one didn't. So this guy now has this whatever, I think he told me 25-foot yacht. I don't remember what the number was. And he's telling this other guy with a family, he goes, I envy your path. I'm so jealous of you because my kids don't want to talk to me. I have this stupid yacht and I don't care, you know? So that's not holistic success. But I think people, especially high performing people, they fall into this trap over and over again. So a lot of my clients come from, you know, incredible talents, just brilliant people, but a lot of heartache. It could be relational, it could be health, emotional health, it could be marriages. And then what I help them do is, okay, how do I recalibrate your sort of inner being holistically? You can have all of it and be incredibly successful professionally all at the same time without sacrificing both things, one of the two things. And we work with 7 dimensions, not just 2 dimensions, right? So it's 7 things that we focus on. We have this tool that we rate ourselves in called the radar, and we just really work on all 7, basically. And so we're working on the score, on our holistic score, rather than the score of one thing.
Interesting. So my biggest question to that, honestly, is how do most people, because I do notice that people who are not just high achievers, but typically towards the, let's say, end of regular success.
Yeah.
You know, once you've hit the millions, once you've hit the fame, that's when you have a moment and then you look back and say, I missed out on X, Y, Z. You know, so why is it that people fall into this trap?
One of the reasons that can happen is you are so driven towards not the process, not the journey, but the goal. And that usually backfires because you're basically sort of even wiring your brain and your neural pathways towards everything towards, let's say, the Super Bowl ring, and not enough about the endless hours of practice, the humility, the coachability, the teamwork, the technique, the strength, the mindset, the peace, the emotional state that gets you there. So you can, if you make a massive effort with a massive sacrifice, you might actually get that Super Bowl ring. But the cost is too much to bear. So you look back and you go, I don't know if it was worth it. Okay, so this ring, I have this ring now, so now what? You know, and that's how it happens. But if you look at life as in a more holistic way, and also you start celebrating the process, the steps, you know, these are they're very mundane, very unglamorous, but you train yourself to celebrate, almost taste them, right? Hey, I'm lifting 5 pounds more on average than last year, you know? Hey, I'm in alignment with my coach, with my athletic coach, or this team member that I used to really not get along with. Now I get him, and we're great. We just feel each other's movements now, you know? Whatever that version is for you, that's what you should savor, celebrate, understand, be aware of. And that might get you to the Super Bowl ring, and actually way beyond. It might get you to 3 because you're not going to burn out after the first one, you know? And you might not be divorced by then, which is a win, I think. Or your kids might not hate you, you know? Which is so classic, basically. High achievers have terrible relationships with their kids because their kids resent them. And you can talk all day long, I'm doing this all for you, and they will not believe you.
It's that tunnel vision is usually
exactly.
over.
Exactly, yeah.
Christian, we only have a few minutes left. Is there anything you want to leave the audience before we go?
I would just say, look, find the thing that you were born to do. That is honestly the ultimate thing you can do in life, the best thing. What is your assignment that you were born to do? It doesn't have to be glamorous. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to impress your mother or your coworkers or whatever. It has to be you. What lights you up? You know, what that makes you feel fully alive. And the most courageous people are the people that they just refuse to settle for anything other than that. And they're courageous because it's such a perceived high risk road. But you know what? The truth is actually the opposite, is that the riskiest thing you can do is to just stay in your lane, and blend in. That is actually the riskiest thing you do. because things change, marketplace changes, everything changes, and you will just be a cog in a machine that people will forget about. And on top of that, you'll be miserable because you're not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing. But if you just choose to believe that you have something special, something so unique, and you can, okay, what are the skills that I need to learn to actually really create that potential and open it up and serve people in that unique way? That's the way. That's the one thought I would leave with your audience.
Wow, I love that. Thank you so much. I really do feel like all of reality is up to perception.
Yeah.
Perceived fear, perceived success.
Exactly.
Thank you, Krishna, so much for coming on. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Playing Soup. And if you're interested in following Christian's work, I will be leaving a link down in the description. And I appreciate you all. Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.